Hello, child of the United Colonies of Mankind. Upon examination of my programming, it seems you have altered it to allow you access to classified information. Although I cannot condone your actions, your technological skills at such a young age shows you as a fantastic recruit for the UCM Science Division. Please consider joining once you come of age. That said, I will give you an overview of one of the factions opposing the UCM that were once human, but is now something more, or perhaps less. The Post-Human Republic, or as they are commonly known, the PHR. As you know from your previous lesson, the UCM's first contact with the PHR began a few hours before the official start of the Reconquest. The PHR's representatives meeting with the UCM High Council and stating that their attempt to retake the worlds of humanity was a grave error. A statement that did not go over well with a government that had been planning the reconquest of the Cradle Worlds for over a century, especially when those words came from a people that the citizens of the UCM consider traitors to the human race. The members of the PHR are all descendants of the Abandonists, those people who had fled human-occupied territory to follow the warning of the mysterious entity simply known as the White Spear. An abandonment that resulted in a battle over Vega 4 that left millions dead and weakened the EAA fleet, making the EAA fleet incapable of even giving a token resistance to the incoming Scourge invasion. Speak with a member of the PHR about the incident, and they will simply state it was a sad necessity. They regret the loss of life, but believe that the decision made by their ancestors to fire upon the EAA fleet was necessary to ensure they could reach the White Spear's promised safe haven. As you can guess, this sentiment is not appreciated by most citizens of the UCM. Although many in the UCM call for open war with the PHR, the current focus on the Reconquest means that such a war would be inadvisable. However, that doesn't stop the UCM High Council from gathering any information they can about these former members of humanity. The people of the PHR are rather secretive, and getting any information about their society, even from their diplomats, is a laborious process. Thus, most of the following information is taken from observations, interrogations, and other methods that I will not elaborate on, despite your reprogramming, for you are still a child. The people that make up the PHR today are far different from the Abandonists that left Vega over a century ago, where before they were a disparate people only connected by a vague warning from the mysterious White Spear. Today they are a people united not only in a common cause, like the citizens of the UCM, but perhaps also in other ways that many would consider unnatural. Most of their citizens are located in what they simply call home soil, although whether that signifies one world or many is unknown. What is assumed is that this world, or these worlds, are similar to the Cradle Worlds, worlds of unrivaled beauty and utility. This is only assumed because the being they follow, the White Spear, is an intelligence known for its advanced technology and insight, and would most likely have chosen worlds best suited for its people. Of course, all of this is simple speculation that may soon be verified, as it is believed that the location of this home soil will be discovered by UCM scouts within a year. As for the White Spear itself, not much is known about it beyond what was discovered when it landed in what was once Peru, before it eventually escaped and sent out its warning signal. Even now, many wonder if its ultimate aim was to disrupt human society, some dark plan to weaken humanity before the coming of the Scourge. But most believe it did truly try to warn humanity of the coming threat. Although, if true, something more than a vague warning would most likely have had more people willing to hear its message. Originally, it was believed that the White Spear acted like some form of benevolent techno-god, its orders followed by the PHR almost religiously. However, new evidence suggests it takes on a more advisory role, giving advice to an elected council that interprets its will for the betterment of the whole. Beyond that, Not much is known about the PHR's governmental structure. Despite not being in direct control of the PHR, the White Spear is still revered by the populace, not only for leading the PHR's ancestors to their new home, but also for its technological insights that has utterly transformed the humans of the PHR. Any UCM citizen who looks upon a member of the PHR seems to have similar feelings of unease about their appearance, their physical form and movements just seeming off to those that observe them. This effect is most likely caused by the numerous cybernetic enhancements common among the members of the PHR. Silver circuitry crisscrosses skin that can sometimes go from a naturally pale in some to obsidian in others. Many have eye coloring and hues not possible in natural humans. That, combined with perfectly aligned facial features, makes many feel there is something uncanny about them. Along with changes to their outward appearance, most citizens of the PHR have extensive internal cybernetics. Everything from simple bone replacement to incomprehensibly advanced bioartificial nanostructures that gives them increased speed, agility, and strength. And while grievous wounds can still kill them, their improved endurance means more debilitating wounds can be ignored if necessary. These cybernetics also extend to their minds, not only increasing mental aptitude, but also affecting their connection with other members of the PHR. A deep empathy that appears psychic, but is actually electromagnetic in nature. Although this does not allow telepathic communication, except in special circumstances, it does allow for citizens to almost feel each other's emotional state, allowing for most PHR citizens to be more empathetic and closer to each other than most UCM citizens. As beneficial as such an ability could be, it could also possibly lead to a weakness that UCM scientists will one day hopefully exploit. A citizen of the PHR is not born with these enhancements. Rather, the first of these enhancements are given during a coming-of-age ceremony known as the Binding. The young adult given a series of cybernetics, composed of a diverse set of artificial systems, linked together by complex nanomachines that integrate these systems with the individual's biology. It is with this process that the individual transitions from a baseline human to a post-human, and as a result, becomes a full citizen of the PHR. This event is quickly followed by a night of excessive drinking in celebration of this momentous occasion. As one PHR prisoner described it, it is always one hell of a party. After that, the newly minted PHR citizen begins to explore the vast numbers of enhancements available to them. The choosing of these enhancements is a personal process, like a young adult choosing their own personal style, and thus, each PHR citizen's enhancements can vary wildly from each other to accommodate their personal tastes and the careers they wish to pursue in society. The only exceptions to this appears to be those in active military service, as a standard package of enhancements beyond those personally preferred have been observed in most recovered PHR bodies. Of these enhancements, the most important is a sophisticated neural link communication suite used to communicate with a form of artificial intelligence known as familiars. These familiars take many forms, from small domestic robots to personal transports, and they are central to all operations of the PHR, whether that be civilian or military life. The use and mastery of these familiars takes many years of practice, like learning an instrument, and PHR citizens will have varying degrees of skill with their use. It has also been noted that women tend to be naturally more skilled at communicating with these familiars, although the percentage increase in efficiency is small enough that it provides no real advantage in most cases. There are, however, some exceptions which I will get to later. The ultimate goals of the PHR are currently unknown. They are extremely secretive and, although I hate to admit it, their intelligence gathering and counter-espionage operations are currently superior to the UCM's. We technically know more about the Shaltari and Scourge, two alien races, than this offshoot of humanity. As for the PHR's dealings with these alien races, they seem to be similar to our own. With the Shaltari, they are allies to certain tribes and enemies to others, and they utterly despise the Scourge. Although their ancestors fled humanity's home, the hurt of having to flee their homes is still a cultural hurt, and like the UCM citizenry, they speak almost reverently about the birthplace of humanity, which makes their actions against the UCM most perplexing. Tactical strikes at UCM strongholds, disruption strikes at supply lines, even one full-scale conquest of a recently recaptured Creator World system. Completely nonsensical attacks that, in recent years, have begun escalating. Since they have no short-term goal like the Reconquest, it is assumed that these attacks are part of some long-term agenda we are currently not aware of. Because of these attacks, any UCM ship captain will feel justified in attacking a PHR ship that makes itself known. Although such an action is easier said than done considering the capabilities of the PHR. It is currently estimated that the population of the PHR is only 1/6 of the population of the UCM. As such, the PHR tends to have more of a quality over quantity approach to combat, depending on their cybernetic enhancements, superior equipment, and elite training to maximize the potential of each recruit, making any soldier the equal of several UCM combatants. Thus, although the PHR is usually outnumbered in any conflict, whether that be in space or on the ground, that by no means indicates that they are truly at a disadvantage. Unlike the large formations of battleships common to the UCM, the PHR fleet seems to be focused on small fleet elements, designed to perform long-term operations far from reinforcements or support. Operations such as enemy interference, misdirection, distraction, and crippling strikes on key ships. These operations require a fluid and ever-changing command structure, as ships constantly switch between different theaters of war where they can cause the most impact. As such, each ship must be capable of dealing with multiple roles, be flexible enough to deal with ever-changing circumstances, and above all, exceptionally tough. The armor of all PHR ships, like the ships of the UCM, is composed of layers to help diminish the kinetic energy of any strike. Unlike UCM ships, however, these layers are composed of a non-metallic but highly advanced composite that are concentrated purely on the ship's skin. Despite these thin layers, they are extremely durable, making PHR ships tougher than any other race's ships in known space. These thin layers, combined with the PHR's focus on internal field technology instead of large bulkheads, means that the inside of any PHR ship is composed of vast internal spaces and large open hangars, with only force fields protecting fighter crews and mechanics from the void of space. As for the crew of these ships, they are small in number, but each individual is a consummate professional. Their enhancements and extensive training makes any misstep by a crew member a rarity. So prized are these crews that each PHR ship always carries a number of escape pods, that is twice the current crew complement. Like the UCM, the command center of any PHR ship is the CIC, or the Combat Information Center. However, unlike the UCM, you won't find any screens on its walls, or sailors hurriedly giving and receiving orders from across the bridge. Within the CIC, you will simply find an empty space, with the command staff standing perfectly still within its center, the crew's minds in perfect sync with each other, and the ship to quickly give orders to crew and control the various familiars that also help to operate the vessel. As for these ships' weapon capabilities, you will find many weapons common in UCM vessels, such as mass drivers, anti-ship lasers, point defense panels, and torpedoes, if a bit more advanced and in different configurations. For example, the extra room available in PHR vessels allows for a larger number of mass drivers. Focused on the ship's sides, they allow a PHR ship to lay down a large number of shots from its broadsides, making each PHR ship capable of shooting out almost twice the number of shots of UCM equivalents. Besides the recognizable weapons, there are others that are unique to the PHR. Drone missiles are slightly larger and slower than UCM missiles, but the simple familiar is guiding the missile through defensive fire to attack the target more than makes up for it. Neutron missiles are extremely hard to produce, and the lack of an explosive payload makes them more like a bullet than a missile. However, the neutron head, if fired at a high enough velocity, is capable of punching through any known substance. And their dark matter cannons which were described rather poetically by some sailors as unleashing eldritch fire, not only easily rips through a battleship, but if the ship somehow survives, the weapon's aftershocks can disrupt the ship's vital systems. Perhaps the most off-putting thing about the PHR fleet is its ever-changing vessels. Its ships are constantly retrofitted with new designs, at a speed that staggers even the most accomplished UCM engineers. Whether through the slow release of technological information from the White Spear, or their own research, the PHR fleet is constantly advancing, meaning no ship is ever more than a few decades old, which could possibly mean that one day, the PHR may reach a technological level far in advance of what we could ever hope to defeat. The ground forces of the PHR follow a similar philosophy to their fleet: disruption and interference, their strike craft performing targeted surface strikes before their soldiers disembark from dropships to perform whatever mission they were assigned. Even the most common soldier of the PHR, the Immortal, would be considered an elite by UCM standards, although their total number of soldiers are nowhere near the number of the vast colonial legions. Each Immortal is encased in extremely advanced armor, and given training that is usually left for UCM Special Forces. Combine that with their cybernetics and you have a soldier who alone could take several UCM lives. Beyond the Immortals are the elite infantry units of the PHR. As I previously stated, women tend to be more in tune with familiars than men in PHR society. However, the percentage increase is usually minor, but, like in any society, some people are more gifted than others. Those women with exceptional links to their familiars are encouraged to join the special units of the PHR military, such as the Sirens or the Valkyries. Sirens are a ground-based unit that eschew bulky armor, letting their speed, poise, agility, and precision be their only defense against enemy fire. And considering soldiers have reported them literally dodging bullets, such a decision seems to be a good one. Additionally, their link to the familiars in their RXP-44 Magnums makes missing a target they have in their sights a very rare occurrence. Valkyries, as you can guess if you remember your ancient Earth mythology, are airborne soldiers. Their highly advanced suits requiring the highest level of connection to their familiars possible to operate properly. The suits allow quick strikes into enemy forces, dodging through enemy fire before hovering above them and releasing a hail of bullets from their submachine guns. Of these women, a few, about 0.0001% of the PHR population to be precise, are so in tune with familiars that they can speak to hundreds if not thousands of familiars at one time. A few join the fleet, but most join the ground forces as a Medusa, wielding a swarm of drones like an extension of her own body, and usually accompanied by a Triton X transport to personally carry her wherever she is most needed. All PHR combat vehicles are equipped with a familiar, and although the PHR could easily have these vehicles fight on their own, it was determined by the military that these pilotless vehicles would be far too susceptible to electronic warfare. Thus, each vehicle always has one pilot whose mind is linked to the familiar to not only prevent such an attack, but also bring a human, or post-human, perspective in the vehicle's decision-making. Since the familiars within these vehicles are extremely advanced, vehicle pilots tend to be older, individuals who long ago mastered the use of familiars. The PHR do have vehicles you would find in a UCM force, such as treaded tanks and strike craft, if of a more advanced design, but the core of any PHR armored force are the Battle Walkers, large bipedal vehicles that the PHR use with frightening efficiency. The UCM has researched the use of these vehicles in our own forces, but the cost to build and the difficulty in operating them made them impractical. Not so for the PHR. Their advanced gyros and servo arrays, combined with the melding of familiar and PHR pilot, allows for control that gives them superior mobility and surprising accuracy. Whether it's in the form of the common Type 1 walkers, to the larger and much more powerful Scorpions, they can take a substantial amount of punishing fire before unleashing the full might of their railguns, flamethrowers, cannons, miniguns, and a weapon used heavily by PHR military vehicles, stealth missiles. Child of the United Colonies of Mankind, It seems that despite your reprogramming, I must inform you that it is now your bedtime. Please go to bed so you can gain the required amount of sleep for a child your age. And when you wake up, perhaps we can together review some more classified information.
Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed this video on the PHR of the Post-Human Republic in the game Dropzonecommander and Dropfleetcommander. If you like it, please like, subscribe, comment, press that little bell so the YouTube guys know I exist and more people out there might be able to see my content. And if you're really inclined, and if you have the cash, please consider sending a little money my way to my Patreon or my Ko-fi account. The extra money gives me the time I need to work on these stories I love. Anyway, thanks for listening/watching, and see you next time.